very much, Eliza. Chairman Polan, your members of Congress, your eminences, distinguished representative Artsakh, ladies and gentlemen. This year, like many years since 1915, we commemorate the Armenian Genocide. This year, like any other year, we remember. This year, like the previous 100 years, we are grateful. And finally, this year, more than in the past, we are hopeful. Let me explain why. More than a century ago, the government of the Ottoman Empire launched mass killings and deportations of the Armenian people, destruction of churches and pillage of property, in an attempt to murder a nation, as U.S. Ambassador at the time, Henry Morgenthau, would call it. The Ottoman rulers first of all arrested and forced to death march the Armenian intelligentsia, writers, doctors, musicians, clergy, elected members of the parliament. The words cannot describe all that our nation experienced at that time. Around 1.5 million people were slaughtered merely for being Armenian. And today we have gathered here to commemorate the Armenian Genocide like we do every year. From then on, we were not able to forget. Indeed, we remember all the horrors that our ancestors went through, also from the life stories of those who survived. Among them, my own grandfather, Varuzhan Nersessian, from the ancient city town of Van. With his family members killed and his belongings plundered, he made his way to Caucasus and settled down in Tbilisi, Georgia. I told this story to my children and my students, and I will continue to tell it. Ladies and gentlemen, Turkey had futile hopes that after the centennial of the Armenian Genocide in 2015, Armenians would give up the struggle for the international recognition of the Armenian Genocide. Today I am here to say, no one should have illusions. No matter how many years will pass, we will continue to remember and strive for the international recognition of the Armenian Genocide. We have enough patience and determination to do so. By remembering the past and translating what we have learned from our bitter experience into our policies is critical to prevent its recurrence. Indeed, those who forget the history are doomed to repeat it. The perpetrators aiming to root out the whole nation failed in their aim also due to those people who could not stand by idly and follow. Rather, they extended a helping hand. We Armenians will never forget the genuine support that we received from friends and allies of those days. Among them, first of all, U.S. Ambassador Henry Morgenthau, who personally protested the atrocities. Former President Theodore Roosevelt, who called the administration to forcibly put an end to the massacres. President Woodrow Wilson, who initiated the creation of the Near East Relief Foundation. President William Howard Taft, who attended a church event in Washington, D.C., collecting funds for suffering Armenians. Another U.S. President, Herbert Hoover, who supervised America's humanitarian assistance, rightly earning him the title of Savior of the Armenian nation. Armenians shall and will always be grateful to all the individuals, countries, international organizations, the missionaries, and others that came to support at those hardest times, not only helping people to survive, but also to keep the faith in humanity. Dear guests, April 1915 was not only a tragic page in the history of the humankind. Tolerating such a heinous crime and its aftermath, the humanity witnessed the Holocaust, crimes of the genocide in Rwanda, Cambodia, genocide of Yazidis in the Middle East. And this list is not exhaustive. Having all these atrocities taken place after the Armenian Genocide comes to prove that the international community had learned nothing since then. It is a common knowledge that the biggest roadblock to action on prevention of genocide and other hideous crimes is our inaction and neutrality. Thus, all of us share the shame for every other similar crime that we as an international community failed to prevent. As I speak now, there are still too many instances of denying universal values that pave the way for the repetition of such crimes. Not only modern Turkey does not aspire to reconcile itself with its past, but also it continues its policy of illegal blockade of Armenia, together with Azerbaijan, aiming to force Armenia to change its position on Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. Once again, there shouldn't be illusion. Armenia, Artsakh, and Armenian diaspora stand together for the rightful cause of the people of Artsakh. The rejection of the right for the people of Artsakh for self-determination was accompanied by mass atrocities, massacres, and ethnic cleansing of Armenians by Azerbaijan. We should take actions to stop future perpetrators from leaning on our inaction, to realize that their death plans, like Hitler once did, asking who, after all, speaks today of the annihilation of the Armenians. We should take more decisive actions to fulfill the universal promise of never again. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to say that this year, more than in the past, we are hopeful. No matter how strongly Turkey and Azerbaijan blockade Armenia and isolate the country from certain projects, or impede Armenia's integration into global political and economic systems, Armenia continues its path on its own, and does so in a self-confident manner. Armenia not only survived the blockade in such circumstances, but also demonstrated its ability to develop economically and politically. More importantly, Armenia became a leader in democratic transformation in the region. Last year, thank you Congressman Plom for mentioning about Velvet Revolution. Last year, Velvet Nonviolent Revolution demonstrated this perfectly. Armenia was announced the country of the year by The Economist for its democratic achievements. And now there are new horizons opening up for the enhancement of our partnerships with our friends based on stronger democratic foundations and level playing field for everyone. Maybe there is still more to be achieved in our fight for the prevention of future genocide. But we are more hopeful in this regard too. In 1975 and 1984, the House of Representatives adopted resolutions condemning the Armenian genocide. In 1981, President Ronald Reagan called the massacres of 1915 genocide. But we did not stop here. The Congressional Armenian Caucus continues to work tirelessly to secure the adoption of the Armenian Genocide Resolution. A bipartisan congressional resolution commemorating the Armenian Genocide was spearheaded by co-chair Adam Schiff and co-chair Gus Bilourakis. And Efaristo, member Gus Bilourakis, for your nice words. With over 70 members of Congress joining as co-sponsors, I would like to express my gratitude to Representatives Adam Schiff and Gus Bilourakis for commemoration of the Armenian Genocide, for introducing this resolution in Congress and calling for commemoration of the Armenian Genocide through official recognition and remembrance, rejection of the Armenian Genocide denial efforts, as well as encouragement of education and public awareness of the facts of the Armenian Genocide. We are grateful for this. Moreover, this year, with the addition of Alabama as the 49th state, Mississippi remains as the last U.S. state to officially recognize the Armenian Genocide. And today, again, more than yesterday, we hope that the United States will act decisively once again when it comes to the reaffirmation of America's just attitude in regard to the Armenian Genocide. Ladies and gentlemen, the only way to prevent future crimes against humanity is through remembrance and condemnation. So let us take actions and not stand by. Let us make justice win over geopolitical interests, bearing in mind that this duty is not just for one single nation. Instead, this duty is towards the humankind and humanity. For us to be proud rather than ashamed when we gather to commemorate the Armenian Genocide in the years to come. For us to be sure rather than hopeful in our efforts of genocide prevention when we gather to remember the victims of the Armenian Genocide in the following years. And I thank you very much for your attention.